Hey, this is Jade Eagleson, and you're listening to Music Row.
Welcome to Music Row, a backstage pass to your favorite country artists. Here's your host, Leek.
Hey, welcome back to the program. Thanks for the likes, the love. Thanks for clicking subscribe if you have that option on whatever platform that you're listening to. All of this helps, and we continue to grow. Each and every week, the numbers go up, and that is all because of you and your listening. Welcome back to the Music Row podcast, the show where we sit down with the voices shaping today's country music scene straight from the heart of honky tonks, back roads, and the big stages. On today's program, the real deal, Canadian country fire hailing from small town Ontario. This guy has I think 350 million streams now, multiple number ones at Canadian country radio, all kinds of Canadian Country Music Association awards, I think all of them. They might start making new awards just for today's guest to win more awards. It's got a big tour coming up, a honky tonk near you. Get ready, as today on Music Row, we hang out with Jade Eagleson.
Wherever there's a heartbeat and a stage, there's an artist set to perform. This is Music Row on Tour.
Brought to you by the Pecan Music Agency, connecting fans with bands worldwide. Our guest today, Jade Eagleson, is out on the Honky Tonk Near You tour, and it all starts on the West Coast with dates in Spokane, Portland, Vancouver, runs through Canada, dips down into Minneapolis, Chicago. It goes on. Lots of shows for you to go check out. Do it if you can. Jade Eagleson is next on the Music Row podcast.
Hi, my name is Kim Stockwood. I am a proud Newfoundlander and a Canadian singer-songwriter. In a landscape where many lack access to health benefits or employee assistance programs, the Unison Fund serves as a lifeline of hope for musicians and music industry professionals facing medical emergencies or mental health challenges. To learn more about Unison and their programs, please visit unisonfund.ca.
Hey, it's Jade Eagleson, and you're listening to Music Row with Leek.
I'm so happy that Jade Eagleson is here. When I got the call, and it was last second, and I understand why. I'm not top of the charts like you are. But God damn it, I turned around that reply in record time, which is rare for me. And I said, yes, let's make this happen. Jade Eagleson about to go out on a giant tour starting in Seattle in a matter of days, playing wonderful venues along the tour. It's nice to get into some good spots in your career. And stuff it doesn't matter if you're scaling up or scaling down. You're playing beautiful venues on this tour.
I think that's important too. When you go and you can be in a place where you know that so many other artists that you admire have been in and done the same run and done the same thing to the same type of audience. There's something special about that in itself. So we're excited about the history of each of these buildings, unique to itself.
You're kind of like a music historian just by who you listen to and who you grew up listening to.
Yeah, the ancients. Half the country music I listen to is written in stone. So,
but you were listening to it at when country music hit its prime, and then seconds before it took a dip. With some of the stuff like the Alan Jacksons and the Vince Gills and stuff like that, they were still are gigantic stars, but country radio was so gigantic at that time. Every nightclub was turning into a country bar, and people are understanding that there's a word called honky tonk that nobody knew prior to. It was a life-changing thing, but that music was released when I believe you were about 0 years old.
I think so. I was born in 94, so it was a little bit. I guess I was born the same year Shania's first record might have come out, the big one.
She did okay.
The Woman in Me record, I think that might have been 94. I could be wrong, though.
Who was listening to music around the house? Because it had to have been one of those things. You just don't walk into any sort of genre of music without some sort of influence along the way. Was there family members? Was it your dad sat you down at the corner of the pub in small town Ontario and said, "You sit here and listen to these jams"?
It's kind of like that. I mean, my mom's very musical. She's a musician herself. So she had her, a plethora of different types from like ABBA to whatever. My dad is like Def Leppard and like country, obviously, too.
Same hairstyles, by the way.
Yeah.
ABBA and Def Leppard.
Yeah, I guess so. That is true. But I think for me, like I always locked in with the country just because that's how I grew up. And it was basically talking about what I was dealing with, from being out in the field or experiencing the small town stuff or how hard it is to go out there every day and put in the work. So I immediately attached myself to that. And my grandfather, I lived with my grandparents for a while, and he'd have records on where it was like it could be Hank Snow, it could be Wilf Carter, it could be all of the ancients, as you could call them. But it would be all that 60s country, and I started to really just love that, like the sonic difference. There's all countries all around the same time, and you could put on Buck Owens, and you could have that kind of jumpy feel to it, and then you could put on Merle Haggard, but it's all in the same universe, but it was compatible and it worked, and I just loved that because it did everything for me. It checked all the boxes.
Also, some of those artists, Haggard and Hank Williams, they were singing drinking songs about things that they were heavily engaged in, not like today's pop country who sings about drinking songs but maybe aren't drinking. Like the amount of times that Hank Williams probably woke up in a jail.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Right. And then just turned around and said, I think I can write a song about last night's experience.
Oh, yeah.
So you grew up during a time where it was real truth in songwriting, and it wasn't kind of maybe the fabricated tales that some country artists might have today.
I think that you're basically now, or it was for a while at least. Now it's kind of changing again. But for a while it was really like, can we get a girl in there in short shorts? That's important. And then rhyme truck with stuck in the muck, and then beer with whatever. Like it was just like those three things, and it was the focal point of every song. And it was fun though, because people could listen to that and be like, oh, this is great. But when you go back, you turn the clock back a little bit, and you have those timeless songs like The Chair by George Strait. It's a whole story, and you don't know how it ends. All you know is that they met each other in this bar, and he's a smooth talker, but it makes the listener wonder. And there hasn't been a lot of stuff like that since, really. I mean, it's just kind of, it accomplishes a goal. By the end of the song, everything is resolved and is laid out in a nice, neat paperwork, basically, on your desk.
One thing about Jade Eagleson that I've always liked, and since I met you maybe 8-9 years ago, I think I was wearing jeans at the time, you have stayed true to Jade Eagleson. Like, when we listened to Jade Eagleson 8 years ago, it sounds like Jade Eagleson today, modern day. You didn't chase after I gotta wear short shorts, have blonde hair, and sing what those pop country songs became. Was there anybody who was pushing or pulling you to say, there's a little bit more of a theme that is running country music right now? We might want to start doing that.
I could run with this, but I mean,
are you worried something you're going to get in trouble?
Oh, I'm not worried about that. But I think that for me, there's a lot of definitely shift a little bit. I had to turn on the axis a little bit and pivot, just because at the time, like I remember our first album, it's changed sonically, I'd say, just because we couldn't afford to have a whole band in the studio. So I was like, can we get a steel guitar on this? Or can I get a fiddle on this? And it's like, hey, we're kind of maxed out on budget for this many songs on an album, which is totally fair. And I'm grateful for all the stuff that we have released and how it sounded. But we're, constantly evolving to be more of that country sound and do the stuff I love. However, at the start of my career, it was not that. It's kind of the heat, is the absolute, this kind of pop country apocalypse, which I'm not hating on, because what it did is it put eyes on the genre.
It grew the genre exponentially.
Time. Yeah, and people were like, "What's this? Like, who is Hank Williams? Who is Johnny Cash?"
Arguably revived country music.
It really did, because then people were like, "Okay, what was before this?" Because that's what I do when I listen to any type of genre or anything like that, and that's what I did as a kid, as a music listener. Is I'd listen to the I guess early 2000s. And then I'd be like, what inspired this? And you'd go and you listen to someone like ABBA, or you go and you'd listen to, if you're listening to modern rock, you'd be like, what birthed this? And then all of a sudden you're going into the 80s hair metal and stuff like that. And there's always a path you go down when you listen to a genre, because it's so expanded and there's so many different paths you can go down in regard to especially country, because it's born out of that folk and storytelling, and all walks of life, talk about it. So I think for me, there was definitely some pressure to kind of conform to what radio was doing. However, Canadian radio, when everyone in Nashville was basically saying like, hey, this is too country, which is crazy to me, because like looking at Got Your Name on It compared to what I'm doing now, like a Rodeo Queen, or especially this next project that's coming out, is like, it sounds like a song you hear on pop radio in comparison. So when I look at that and what I kind of had to do to begin, I feel like it's fine. I did it right, because it did work out. So there was a certain level of knowledge that was in line and correct, but musically, I wish I stayed a little more true to the course of who I was. But it's something you have to learn, I think.
I still think that you are a set apart from that pop world, even with a Got Your Name on It, because you were staying true to who Jade Eagleson is.
I think that's true, because, at the end of the day, that the content of that song was not necessarily like what was being sung about at that time, and it was relatable to everyone. And that's what a song should do when it comes to country music. It should have a story. It should have a impact on someone in some way, and that was the special thing about that song, especially the video, because when you had the video and everything, and it was just like a fun kind of like cute video where there's like a kid pretending to drive a truck. We were just dragging this truck on a trailer. And it was the most redneck thing. Thank God there was no like safety work or whatever there. But we got
an official film crew judging,
and
watching everything you do. Do you like doing videos?
I did. They're definitely.
I did. Sounds like you don't.
Well, I did, but they don't do them anymore. It's this like kind of like content thing. So we just did a shoot for the next single we're doing, which is a collab I'm super excited about. But that was a whole ton of fun. You just kind of get to do what you do, except they edit it so you don't look so ugly and stuff. So it's kind of good.
A friend of mine said about social media especially, but said you just kind of have to give into it and just be willing to kind of humiliate yourself a little bit. And then it makes it a lot easier, because there's a lot of people out there who cannot stand doing videos. They think it's just they want to be on stage. They want to be just performing. On that, your stage has come such a long way. I caught you, I want to say 2 years ago, and I didn't know you were playing on the bill that day. And I caught you, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is a different person. This is what Hours does on stage. Does it feel like there's just a constant evolving, or do you even see it yourself? Or
I think back to your point where, people having control or say over what you do. I think that was initially the case, where it's like, you have to do this. You have to play with a track rig. You have to say these talking points and stuff.
The tracks are it's so easy to spot.
It's easy. Yeah, I don't use them. We did at the beginning. We had to, because it was kind of what everyone suggested. But
that's
then
a budget.
It is. You also don't have to bring an 8-piece band everywhere, which we kind of do now. But it's kind of that thing where if you're at that level where you don't need to use them, I mean, it's whatever. It's up to you what your music does. For me personally, I don't want to. I want people to look up on stage and see a live band and know that what we're selling them is real, and that the price of their ticket is worth what it's worth, because we're giving them what they paid for. However, I think that I am guilty of using them in the past. Just in the future, I think that we're blessed enough to be at a level where we don't have to do that.
The good thing about not having that track is that when there's an error, the band can fix it on the fly. You can laugh about it on the fly. You can play the whole song through. Most people don't recognize it, and then you joke about it even more. when it's a track and something's gone screwed, that's just a train falling right off the tracks, and you're not comfortable on stage. It's just an awkward experience overall.
Yeah, here's what I'll tell you is that, because I've used them, I've done it, I've done that. So I'm not like saying I'm not holy and mighty or anything. There's been a time where I couldn't afford to bring everything I wanted out on stage with me. But the difference is that I'd have this click in my ear or something where it's like I knew I had only a bar of this song to interact with somebody, and to me that didn't feel as personal. So the way our shows have grown is just by being intentional. And then as soon as you take the noise out, then you realize what's missing, and then you realize what needs to be elevated. And for me, that was huge, because it highlighted some of my flaws where I was maybe lazy on acoustic, doing the rhythm stuff, maybe missing some parts there where we didn't really have an acoustic in the thing, but there'd be things in the background that would fill out those spaces, whether it was like a B3 organ in the background. It's just one of those things for me.
A choir from Harlem.
Yeah. You hear that stuff though. And it's like, that's all right. I get that you couldn't have a 30-piece choir here. I get that. But for me, I grew up in the bar scene, playing in the bars and, playing on wedges and all that kind of stuff. And it just didn't feel natural to me. And if people can do it, that's awesome. If you can lock in and you can present your show that way, that's good. But personally for me, the type of music I represent and try to show people is not really in line with that. So I just feel better. I feel better up on stage. I feel more confident, which is really key for an artist to feel when you're putting on a show. You should be able to go out and tell the band to play an extra solo or do this or do that. And, back to the band piece, it elevates them. And they're an incredible band. So it's like, they don't need that stuff. It's a crutch that they never needed to begin with. So for them to see them in that atmosphere where they're at their best and everyone's at their best, and of course people make mistakes and it's hilarious, and we definitely make fun of each other. Mostly me. I'm the one that messes up the most. But it's that thing where it's human. It's very human, and in a world filled with AI and everything else, it's just something refreshing. I think the person I saw that was really inspiring me, because when you come off of tracks or anything like that and start your show anew, it's kind of like, man, like, how do we do this? And we really thought about it, and we did good. So my first thing I did is I called Brent Mason out of Nashville, who's a session guitar player. He's played on basically everything. And I was like, hey, Brent, have you ever MD'd a show before? And he's like, no, I never have, or maybe I have, and it wasn't a main thing.
Sorry, we're skipping a little bit too far.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I just called Brent. How did you know Brent? And how did you get to even get him to be your musical director?
So he did like one day of it, but I started taking lessons from him back when I was like in Calgary during COVID, and he basically, like, I thought I was decent, and then he showed me a few licks, and I was like, I'd been miles and miles behind that level of stuff. So I have like 3 licks that he taught me, and they're my signature licks that I use all the time. People think I'm awesome, but it's the 3 and I spent hours doing that. But he's a phenomenal human. He's played on all my stuff.
So you got a relationship with him. You asked him to say, hey, we want to take our show. We got the full band now. Tell me how to make it happen.
So basically, I have 2 fantastic guys in my band that help with the music and all that stuff. But for me, it was more so just the gaps in the show. And someone like him is perfect for that, in my opinion, just because he's in the studio every day. And I was just like, if this was going to radio tomorrow, what would you do to fill it out? And he sat there, and he was so awesome. He went through all the charts, and he's like, you know what, I'd do this here and maybe play this kind of thing and fill it out. And some of the songs were already great. We didn't need any advice on them. But for the ones that, he helped out, because he played on a lot of them, he was just like, you don't have to do this because it was on the record. In this scenario with this many people on stage, maybe try this. And it was awesome just for him to meet the band and be in that chair and be in that situation where he could kind of guide us a little bit. And we, took his advice and applied it to everything else we've done in the last couple of years. which was great, but it just opened our mind up to a lot of different things where we're like, okay, like we don't have to do it to the book. That's the trick here. And someone that really inspired me was like Cody Johnson. When we went out and opened for him, like that guy is just like, there's nothing. It's just his band, it's him. And he's probably vocally the most in tune, incredible singer that I've ever witnessed in the country scene. Like it was absolutely
like a humbling.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like I think I can sing pretty in key, but that guy is like on a whole nother level. It's like, he's like the Celine Dion of country. But it's like,
let's make sure we hashtag that with Cody Johnson.
Yeah. I don't know if he'd love that, but he's that talented, and seeing that was so inspiring for me. I mean, when you're opening for artists like that, I mean, that's what you should be doing. You should be sitting side stage if they allow it. And he did. He was super kind guy, but we were side stage and way off in the back because we didn't want to get in the way. And then he went up to his security, I think, and I was like, oh no, like we're getting the boot. And the security guy came out and talked to us. He's like, Cody says, like, he's been in your shoes before, and if you're gonna stay on side stage, you better be like on stage, like right with him. And we did. So we were like right up by the soundboard, watched the whole show, and it was just, I had chills the whole time. Like I couldn't take my eyes off what he was doing, what the band was doing, and it was like, that's the kind of people, these are the type of people I want to be like, and this is the type of show that I want to have. And we really just dived into that and made sure that we're, going to do that forever. It just really inspired all of us to see that and continue down this path, because, it's tough when you're playing a festival and you play and it's just your band, and then someone comes on and they got some extra stuff in the tracks and stuff. It just sounds bigger. It sounds way, way bigger. But that's not what we're doing. That's what they're doing, and we're doing something different. And, there's a place for all of that. There's all kinds. Music is different for everybody, and how they display it is different for everybody. And for me, I'm going to do what I do. And if someone wants to go on it and use those tracks and stuff, I sometimes enjoy it. I'm not going to lie. If there's a more upbeat, rocky thing that needs to be filled out, then I say go for it. But personally, it's about my musical journey, what I'm doing, what I want to portray myself as. And that's what should be important at the end of the day.
I think too, when you don't have that track and it's just you and your band, it gives you an opportunity to breathe.
Yeah, it does.
You have so much more flexibility. You can expand on your interaction with the crowd. And I know a lot of artists are not good at that. They don't want to do that, but it gives everyone like a breather, gives everyone a break. And it adds a little bit more to who Jade Eagleson is as this artist. Not only is he an artist, he's a real dude who really appreciates being with the fans and in the space that we're in.
Yeah, I think that's important, is that you're put into the moment. And some people are really great at doing both, where they can kind of like integrate moments into their show with all that stuff. But personally, for me, I just wasn't talented enough to do it. So I'm like, I need that time to think. I need that time to process what's happening, what's going on. That's just something that doesn't fire off in my brain as quick as it does for others. So in my experience, I was like, this is something that needs to happen so that, I can take a breath, I can take a beat and figure out what's going on in the crowd and read it a little bit and feel the room out. And for me, that's helped a lot. Because normally it's just like, here's like 8 bars, make a moment. And that's just not something I'm good at. But there are artists out there that are incredible at that, and it works for them. But for me, maybe I just didn't go to enough school, but it is what it is.
I'm not a country music artist. I'm not a artist by any means, but I have had a lot of stage time. And the most awkward stage time I've ever had was, I would say I'm country music's +1. Somehow I get invited to do some weird things, but Brad Paisley's band used to tour. They might still do this, where they would have a bar on stage. You could, go up and have some beers and watch the show. So I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool. Like, I like beers and I'm here. Let's go. I didn't know though that Brad's bar is in between like the guitarist and center stage. You are blocking out the keyboardist, half the drum riser. His bar is front and center of this. I'm like, this is the most awkward moment of my life because I'm sitting on a stage and there's 35,000 people or whatever it is. I'm just cruising beers. And there are people in the front rows crying because of this icon that is up on stage, lighting up the stage. I'm like, these people should be here, not me. This is the most awkward thing. And I'm grateful that I got the opportunity, but Brad, he's such a crazy, smooth artist and such an incredible guitarist. Great with the fans, great stage, all that stuff. He's halfway through a song. He runs by me and he's going from one mic to the next. And he goes, hey, how's it going? You having a good time? I'm like, there's 40,000 people behind. Like, don't deal with me. Worry about them. But that's a guy who has found his lane like long ago. And he's just so comfortable on stage. A guy that can run and play guitar, that's incredible.
That is wild.
I'm okay at guitar, but running, forget it.
Yeah, that's for me. I'm like, because I'm starting to play tele on this tour and stuff again, and it's like I have to be in one little place. I could walk out to the stage or whatever with the easier licks, but when you start getting into like the chicken picking stuff, that some of the guys like him do so naturally, and guys like Zach Top is doing that too now, and it's just like you see these guitar guys, and I'm like, what you consider half of a guitar guy, I guess, where I'm like half as talented as those guys, but I also don't like to move.
It's tough though when you're looking at it from that lens of those guys are so good. It doesn't really count. It's not fair.
I know. Yeah, it's true.
In a sense. But Alan Jackson, great guitarist and great performer in that. He was a stay-at-home defenseman. He stood in one spot. You didn't need a lighting guy for the rest of the show. Just make sure that one spotlight is on Alan center stage and you're good to go.
Yeah, him and George, except I guess George has the rotating stage, so the guy would just have to slowly move around the clock. But those guys are studs. They just stand there and they deliver. It's like when you're that like that guy, like the guy, that's all it is. It's just like people are gonna love you no matter what. And a guy like Alan or George they just stand and deliver. They do their thing.
Yeah, some people need to do high kicks to
that's
add to
me.
the show.
I just don't stretch like that.
It's those jeans. I'm telling you, you need a little bit more flex in that denim. How has Nashville changed who Jade Eagleson is?
Man, I think I was never, not saying that I was ever like confident or sure of myself to begin with, but when you move there, it's like the one thing you have to consider is like, even though there is all this talent and a high threshold for talent in Canada, when you move to Nashville, it's the best in the world. It's everyone from all around the world that wants to be a country star moves to Nashville if they really want it. So I always tell the story. It's my first few weeks, and I went and did a writer's round. And I was like, I just had won a CCMA for something. And I was like, I feel...
Artist of the year, entertainer of the year, songwriter of the year, performer of the year, guy who showed up on time of the year. My band has won every award. Jade Eagleson. Can we write some songs? Is that how it went?
It was like one of them. I don't know, but it was like I showed up and
I've been nominated for a bunch of Junos too. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Anyhow, let's write some songs. Go on. Sorry.
It was this round though, and there's these guys that I didn't know, and I've done stuff like this in Canada, not to knock the talent threshold here because they're talented, but it's like I can hang with these guys. I was like I'm comfortable in this situation. But there, I remember it was songs I've sang like maybe, if not 100, 1,000 times. And then the guy beside me started to sing and he started to play. And immediately I just felt shrunken and little and just like I had imposter syndrome. I was like, I shouldn't be up on the stage. Like, listen to this guy. And then my wife was there and she brought all her friends. She's like, oh, my husband's going to do this showcase. And I froze. I was so scared. I forgot all my lyrics. I messed up all the guitar parts, even though I knew them like the back of my hand. And it was just like over and over again. We just went around the circle. And
you've played before much larger audiences.
There's maybe like 60 people in that crowd. And they're all talking. It was like a bar scene. So they weren't super focused or hyper fixated or anything. But it was just...
And they don't know you.
Yeah.
So no one's bought a hard ticket to see you. It should be just going out to a charity softball game and hitting some dingers.
Yeah, it should. But, in that moment, I realized, I was like, this is what it takes. This is like the level. This is base level of talent here. And I remember like on the drive home, it was a little bit quiet, and I said to my wife, I was like, that stunk, didn't it? And she's like, it wasn't your best. And I was like, that's never going to happen again. And I went home and I practiced and practiced and practiced. And I just put everything I had into being that level in Nashville, that the level that Nashville requires. And, you know, there's a reason they call it a 10-year town. And I've been coming for 10, but when you move there and you're integrated into it, there's something a little bit different that happens, because then you're introduced to the community. And as soon as you're introduced to the community, you realize who's in it. And there's some crazy talented people. And I'll say that. I can go down to Broadway and skip a rock down the sidewalk and probably take out the shins of 5 people that can play and sing better than me. What I need to do, and I've really thought about this a lot, what I need to do is work harder than them, because there's not going to be any type of person in Nashville that, you know, is better than the next guy. Everyone's talented. That's just base level. What the difference is who they are, why they matter, and how hard they're working, how bad they want this. Because you see it time and time again. You see these artists kind of get through and they just give up the ghost. They're like, maybe this isn't what I wanted. And immediately that there's not a second of that, but that you can allow to enter your space or enter your mind, because everybody wants this. Everyone in Nashville wants it. And it creates a community that is so supportive of each other, because it could be any one of us, you know, like it could be this guy that I met on a Friday night going out for wings at Hattie B's or something. And it could be that guy that, you know, is just made your Subway sandwich. It could be anybody. So there's this community, this thing that happens where everyone just elevates each other. And it is incredible to see. It is incredible to be a part of. You feel blessed really to be in that community where people are lifting you up like that. It's not, it could very easily be a competition, but I think for everybody, it just becomes this thing where it's like, it could be you or me. And I'm going to be just as happy for you if you're successful as I would be for myself having that success. And it becomes this family in the community. And you see that kind of among the Canadian artists too, a bit, where it's like, man, it took a lot of work to get here, didn't it? And you're grateful for that. You're grateful for each other because of that. And it's awesome. It really is. It's allowed me to be better and accept when I'm not the greatest. And that's, I think, the most crucial part in any line of work you do, is accepting when you failed and being humble about it and being like, okay, I just have to build off this. I need to lay the foundation and build on it and make sure that everything's structured, because if I don't pay my dues now, I'll pay them later.
Does your wife have the same approach when she gave you that feedback of it wasn't your greatest? Have you said the same thing about her lasagna? And she turned around and said, I'm going to work harder on it.
There's been, those are like, you gotta be tread a little bit of a line there, but you know, she all that stuff comes from a place of love, and her and our relationship is very much like that, where we call each other out, but it's not like this. It's just like, hey, like how can we elevate this?
And you met young too.
Yeah, we did.
Met young, married young.
Yeah, and I think
like by comparison, not if you grew up like you did in the field, not like raised by wolves, but it's way more common than being in a city center to be married. What were you, 21?
I was 24. 25 when I got married, I think.
Engaged though early.
Oh yeah. Like I met, you kind of, for me, I knew she's the one. I was just like, this is the person for me forever. And it was just this knowing, and she felt the same way, which is pretty great, because I wanted to be sure.
Yeah, it'd be really awkward otherwise.
Yeah, it'd be very strange. But you know, we really fell in love, and like I was like, yeah, let's do this thing, let's do life. And then the baby came, and everything just happened so fast. And for me, it kind of forces you to grow up a little bit quicker, because you're like, okay, if like I love you this much and you love me this much, what are the things we need to do? What are the things we need to add to our relationship or remove? What boundaries do we need to set? How honest can we be with each other? And all those things become just your everyday tenets. You're like, okay, this is how I'm going to wake up. This is how I'm going to do my day to honor my wife and to honor my children and to honor myself. Because at the end of the day, this is the person I love. And what people forget a lot of the time is that it's work. Marriage isn't, you don't just walk into it and you're like, oh, this is a vacation and I'm just going to check out when it's not fun anymore, because there's going to be crappy days. There's going to be super crappy days. And you just have to look at each other and know that love is there. That love's never going to change. And it's important.
I like how you're saying it made you grow up fast. You grew up in a world of death could happen any second on the farm. You know, like that you probably have started driving vehicles without a license at the age of 9 or 10.
I think I was 6 when I hopped on my first tractor. It was an old like Waterloo. However, I did not know how to drive it safely, so it was
good.
Prolonged again.
You're not supposed to. You're
Yeah.
6.
But I was also I was at the same age. I had obviously parental supervision, but they thought they're like, let's see
from a field away. I know how farms work.
Luckily, that one was easily tippable, so I always had someone with me. So, and it was like the dropping into gear, you just would move the handle forward.
Right.
So it was very easy.
It just had stop and go.
Yeah. So it was good. And you can adjust. There's a little lever right here where you could adjust the throttle, and it was very foolproof.
Yeah. It was made for a 6-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. There was no clutch though. So when I got a little bit older, the clutch had gone, so you had to dry shift, and sometimes I'd lock it up, and my grandpa would be like, "Oh, dang."
Why do we let the 8-year-old drive with the clutch?
Well, I was like 16 at that point. I can't even.
No, but look, I think like when I run into people who grew up in that kind of world, whether your dad works in a machine shop and you're around the tools all day, if you're got a family member who's a carpenter and you're around that all the day, it teaches you some very different skills that I think are super applicable to whatever you're going to do in the future, whether it's in the same mechanic shop, carpentry, working on the farm. It teaches you how to work, and it teaches you it's just dirt. And yeah, it's heavy, but let's just move it to where it needs to be. And I think that can help out an artist. You know, you put in those extra hours.
I think the big thing for me is I tell this story all the time, but I was in football. I was living on the farm, and
you played football.
But I was coming home from football practice, and I was bagged. So I just take a nap, and I wouldn't do my chores, and then my grandma would call everyone for supper. And
with a bell, please say it was a triangle.
There was a bell out
porch?
front. Yeah, there was a proper dinner bell out front on the porch. Yes, and it was loud, but we'd get called, and there was one night, as maybe 3 or 4 nights of this. So I was pushing it because my dad did the chores too, but like there's a lot of them. So most of the time I just help out. So I didn't. There's a 4-day, 5-day streak where I didn't do that at all because I was too tired. And she called everyone for dinner, and there wasn't a plate out for me. And I remember kind of being like, hey, like, what the heck is this? Like, where's my supper? She's like, oh no, like, not you. Look, we've all contributed today to get the food on the table. Like I went and got the potatoes, and your grandfather raised the beef, and it was that kind of thing. And she's like, if you do your chores, then, you know, maybe. So I went out, and I was a young, hot-headed teenager. So I went and I cleaned the whole barn out, got all the hay ready, and did all that stuff, which I should have been doing anyway, if I'm being perfectly honest. But in that moment, I went from very, very angry to being like, this is a lot of work. And I put it off. And imagine if it sounds like gardening is a hobby for some people, but on a farm, it's miserable. Like you're out there for like hours digging up potatoes, and you know, some people are lucky enough to have the machines that drive over, but not us. So it's that thing where everyone is putting in effort. And I remember I was doing the chores, and my grandma came out, and she's like, why don't you come on in now? And I was pretty much wrapped up anyway, but I was sitting in my own thoughts, really thinking about that and how selfish I was being. And I went in, and it was the biggest, most divine. She added a bunch of stuff to supper that I did not deserve. And it was just like, I'm sure I could have gone out for 30 minutes and I still would have had that. But it was super important to me. And it's something that I tell everybody, because whether it's your family, family is most important, but everyone is all hands on deck. And it kind of goes back to a principle that I believe in, and it's, 4 pillars. You have your business, you have your family, you have your community, and then you have your self-time. And basically your community could be going out to the pub with your buddies. It could be hopping on a game station and playing your games with your friends. That's kind of hanging out with them. And then your me time can kind of blend with some of that, but that's just time that you need to recoup in your business and your family. Self-explanatory. But anytime you spend too much time on one of those things, and maybe you're selfish, or maybe you're spending too much time on your business, the everything else around it begins to crumble. And when that happens, then you lose your structure. And the second you lose your structure, everything starts falling apart, and you're running and trying to patch everything up. And the same is applicable to your life and your family. Everyone contributes. Everyone has to do something. So when you're working, it takes a village to make an artist's career successful. It's your producer. It's the session players in the studio that day. It's the person that decided they're going to help you and they're going to put your song on a playlist. It's the people at radio that are like, we believe in you and we're going to run you up the charts. It's people like you that take the time to interview us. And when you look at all that stuff, it's all hands on deck. So in my opinion, if I'm going to honor all of those people that have honored me, I need to show up. I need to be the guy that is crossing the finish line the first. And if I don't, then at least I can say I tried my hardest to do that. So it's such a valuable lesson you learn from that. It all transcends and it all evolves into this thing. And, I've said to my wife all the time, I'd love to get a farm just to have chores and stuff. But we try to implement that kind of thing in our own household where, it could be simple as setting up the table or, cleaning up after supper. And like my oldest cleans up the youngest toys.
6 or 7.
He's 6, but he just turned 6, but he'll help out. And he understands why he's helping out because he sees what we do for him.
Wait, he didn't just turn to you and go, screw you, old man, I'm going to Uber Eats this dinner.
Yeah, he could have. He is very intelligent, which he certainly gets from his mother. But he has that thing about him where he'll question it. He's not rude, but he's like, now why would I do this if, my younger brother created this disaster? And it's like, well, listen, like your mom and I are doing this and we're cleaning the kitchen and stuff like that. And we just drove you to jujitsu and Muay Thai and baseball and whatever it was that night. And we just need you to do your part. And he understands that and accepts that. And he's very respectful and mindful of the situation where if there's something going on in the house where he could help out, he does that. And that to me, as long as you explain it, you're not just like, here's a pile of work, but you explain it to, most people just understand that. It takes a village, whether it's within your own home or if it's in your work, and you need to show up for those people in your life.
I feel strangely motivated right now. All because of Jade Eagleson. Jade Eagleson, the tour, starting off on the West Coast in Spokane, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
And running across Canada. But we do have to touch upon this before I let you leave. You played the Ryman last fall.
I didn't get to do the Ryman.
Not the Ryman. You played the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah, that's on my bucket list, though, I'll tell you.
You played the Grand Ole Opry, and I understand that you kind of auditioned to play there and you screwed it up, or was like, but you didn't screw it up because you ended up getting on the gig. And that, how special was that playing on a stage like that?
There is it's heavy. Like you get imposter syndrome. I'm up there and I'm like, Randy Travis played here, Keith Whitley played here. Like all these different heroes that I've had have been in that circle. And
9 trillion albums have been sold from this stage.
Oh yeah, basically. And it's just like the history of it. It goes back to like the Carter family and all that stuff. And
it sounds good.
Yeah, it does.
You don't even need a microphone and everyone can hear you.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then like the radio stuff too is like, you better play good because you can hear everything. And for me, playing that it was a dream. Like I know when I started this career, that was like in my mind, I was like, that's as good as it gets. Did you watch the show growing up? Did you see? I didn't have the ability to tune in really, but I'd watch videos on YouTube of people getting inducted or their first time, and it was, to me, like, I was like, dang, I wish so bad that like I could experience that. And then I was like, that'd just be everything to me. And then I did it, and it flew by. It was like just a snap of the finger, and then it was over.
How many songs?
We did 2 for the first time, and then they let you do 3 after that. But it was just so heavy, but so incredible, because you look, there's a view that you see out there, and you see some pictures of it where you see the artist looking out into the crowd, and to experience that and just look around and be like, this is the Opry. It's really, really special.
It can also confirm for an artist too. Oh yeah, I'm legit.
It's still like I said, is that imposter thing where it's like you look out and you're like, why am I here? And I haven't played a show there yet where my right leg, for some reason in particular, just shakes consistently. Like it's going out of control. And so I have to turn a little bit when I sing, but it's like,
no one can see that, by the way. It's shaking so minutely.
It is very minute, but it feels like.
Yeah, it feels like it's going to fall right off your body.
Oh, yeah. It feels like I'm on like I don't even know, like a dozer or something, but it's crazy. And for me, it's just like, I'm very grateful whenever they call back, because I'm like, well, that was it. And then they'll call you, hey, you free this time? But I will say the scariest for me was not my debut. It was when they asked me to cover Keith Whitley and Randy Travis, because they're like, hey, you up for the Classics Country Night? And I was like, absolutely. Like that's my thing. And they're like, okay, can you do Keith Whitley and Randy Travis? I was like, the voices. I was like, I don't know. But we went out and we did it, and I brought my steel player with me to that one. And gosh, it was amazing. It was just getting to sing my hero song in the same place they stood, on the Opry stage, was something that like will fill up my heart forever, I think.
Probably makes the other shows that when you go out on tour a little bit easier too.
Oh, I still get nervous, but there's a different level of nervous there. It's kind of like singing the national anthem, but like with everyone looking right at you and hoping that you screw up in a weird way. In your head, you think they're thinking that, but they're not. They don't care. They're just waiting for the headliner to come out. But it's like, it's that crazy thing where you're like in that circle, and you're like, wow, like this is all happening in real time.
I hope you stole something good from backstage.
Oh man, they give you like little gifts for when you arrive, hopefully to avoid that. But like I got like a little license plate. Yeah,
we've had a couple of bands rolling through here in our years.
Oh yeah, but they have like a little sign for your debut. They have like on the parking spot, they have your name.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got that, and I've got like a book and stuff like that. And they're incredible. And same with like posters and stuff like that.
Hey man, thanks for doing this. Thanks for hanging out. I really do appreciate you. And
man, I appreciate being here.
Go crush that tour.
I'll try. Yeah.
I'm coming to your show. I'm gonna go see your show in Toronto. So look for me.
I will. I'll point to you. Depends on how good the lighting guy is. Sometimes you don't see anything.
Jade Eagleson. Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
Follow Music Row on X at Music Row Country, on Instagram at Music Row Official. Music Row is produced by Shed of Dreams.